Now that we've gone to the trouble of creating a custom gradient, let's actually go and use it inside our cartoon robot artwork. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I want to get rid of this this diamond gradient that I created here for you, just as a quick example. And to do that, I'm just going to hit the delete key on my keyboard just to clear out or delete the contents of my selection. And then I'm going to deselect here, Command D or Control D, and I'm going to pan over back into my robot artwork. And it's actually this word bubble here where the robot's saying, "So human, what will it be?" This little word bubble, that's what I want to fill in with our new custom gradient. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do this. I'm just going to zoom in on this word bubble here for a moment. What I could do is I could try and contain the gradient to the contours of the word bubble by carefully selecting all the way around the word bubble, right? Now, what I could do is I could use Photoshop's lasso tool or maybe the polygonal lasso tool or something like this, but it's going to take some time to get all the way around the word bubble. So I'm going to give you kind of a more of a down and dirty technique here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lasso tool here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a much rougher selection, maybe something like this, right? And I'm just going to kind of quickly draw around the contours of the word bubble rather than actually tracing around the black lines of the word bubble, as I was suggesting just a second ago. I'm really kind of keeping it rough here, something like this, right? I'm going to show you kind of a cool technique that you can use here. All right, so something like this, and I'm just kind of freewheeling it here, freehanding it all the way around the word bubble. Something like this, and all the way back to the starting point where I began this selection. There we go, something like that. All right, so there's my marching ants. I'm going to zoom out just a touch here. Command minus or Control minus. And I'm going to grab my gradient tool. This time I'll just hit the G key on my keyboard, and that switches me over to the gradient tool. I still have that new custom gradient loaded into my gradient tool, so he's all ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start above the marching ants and click and drag down below the selection, something like this, right? And this is what I wind up with. And I think to myself, do I like that? Do I not like that? I'm not sure. I'm going to undo, Command Z or Control Z. And maybe what I'll do is I'll start on the inside of the word bubble and drag down towards the bottom of the word bubble, something like this, and let go. There, that looks a little cooler. I want more of the dark yellow in there, though. So I'm going to undo one more time here, Command Z or Control Z, and maybe I'll drag down to about halfway or just past halfway, something like this. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, great. So that looks wonderful, but of course I have the color spilling outside the edges of my word bubble here, so we have to fix that. I'm going to show you how to do that next, but before we do that, I'm going to deselect, though, just by hitting Command D or Control D on the Windows side.